It's great to be here. Thanks for inviting me. This conversation comes at such a perfect time because, the EU has been leading the way on tech regulation for years, and the US is sort of finally stepping up, right? Yesterday, we saw the Federal Trade Commission and 40 states sued to break up Facebook, which is, really unprecedented move, right? And this comes right after the US Department of Justice case against Google in October. And so now we're finally at a point where there may be, like Vera was just saying, some opportunities for cooperation. Previously, the EU was sort of alone investigating and bringing antitrust investigations against Amazon and Apple, passing the GDPR, working to combat hate speech, and there wasn't as much parallel action in the US. And so I think to start the conversation, I thought it would be interesting to just talk about micro-targeting, because that is so important right now. We've just had an election, and there is some transparency in micro-targeting right now, but not enough. As you know, Facebook shows some parameters of the way an ad is targeted, but not all. And I'm curious from you, Vera, if you think transparency is enough, like if they were to show all the parameters, because I still wonder whether anyone would ever look at that information. Like, is there an argument to be made that micro-targeting shouldn't be used in political advertising?
I speak about the freedom of speech, and I know I very often silence myself. Well, yes, Julia, thank you for this question. I will try to be short. In my view, we have to consider seriously if and how to limit the micro-targeting before the elections. And this will be a very interesting debate for the next 6 months, because I should come with the legislation in the third quarter of the next year. And we will consult heavily with the experts for political marketing, but also with other related subjects. On this topic, a personal comment. I am following Descartes, who said that I know I don't know anything. And so we are really consulting this with experts, and we want to do this right. I am deeply convinced that micro-targeting as the method, which is so successfully used by the digital companies for selling the products like shoes or vacuum cleaners, we cannot use the same method for selling the political parties and politicians and political ideas. Here I have to draw a clear line between consumers and citizens. And I worked in both fields. Yeah, I was the Commissioner for Consumers Protection. So I really did my best to protect the consumers, but I also felt that there is a big difference in how to approach consumers and citizens. And I believe that this is too serious to let this method to be used, especially in pre-election period. So we will be considering the limitation at least. But already after Cambridge Analytica case, which was opening eyes moment, we gathered with data protection authorities of the EU, and I had a very clear question whether they can do more to protect the private data against the use, abuse even in the political marketing. The answer was yes. So there was a very quick reaction from the GDPR world, if I simplify that. And we alerted the member states who organize the elections, including the European elections, to pay full attention to the protection of private data of people. So this is what already happened before the European elections last year, that we were very pushing a lot from the side of the Commission on full application of GDPR, which, however, doesn't have the full response. So that's why next year I want to come with this specific legislation, which will be like specialis to the Digital Services Act. I don't want to complicate it now, but we will definitely want to increase the transparency so that the people know and address the issue of micro-targeting. We have competence only to legislate for European political parties and European elections, but we will recommend the member states to mirror the proposal for European through the European legislation to mirror it in their national legislation with regard to national elections. We have to respect the division of competencies. Last comment, what was interesting before 2019, there was a big issue of cross-border political marketing, because many European political parties wanted to do the marketing from one place across the whole Europe. But we had only national rules for organizing elections, including the political marketing. So that was a big issue. And I want to tidy up this mess because it should be clear who can do what. And also for the platforms, because we should not rely on individual approach of the platforms on this.
Right. Thank you. That's super interesting. I think I want to pick up on something that's a little bit self-interested, right? Which is, of course, related to the media. So as a member of the media, one of the things that is difficult for us is to try to monitor what's happening on the platforms, right? So the argument that is made is if we look at what's happening inside of Facebook, for instance, they have made the argument, like they just made against some researchers at NYU recently, that we're violating the privacy of the members. And so they're kind of using the privacy argument against independent auditing. And I noticed that you have a line here in this action plan about how the GDPR does not prohibit sharing of personal data with researchers. And I was wondering if you could talk more about how much independent auditing there will be under your proposals, and is there a way that journalist research could be protected?
I promised to Mr. Zuckerberg, who was sitting in this room some time ago, from whom and his colleagues I heard this explanation that there is the GDPR, which might be the obstacle for providing some sort of information and some data to researchers. And I said that I promised that, okay, I don't think this is the case, but we will come with clear line. The line is now in the European Democracy Action Plan. So we don't see any obstacle in GDPR. We will be now upgrading the code of practice against disinformation, where we will push further on the platforms to be more transparent and share the data with the researchers. And I will be thinking about the interaction between the independent media and the platforms, because I cannot give you now the clear answer, but I think that it could be also the part of the general effort to make the platforms and what's happening in them more transparent. Definitely, we will push on more transparency and provision of the data for the public authorities. I mentioned under the DSA, the Digital Services Act, there will be that structure of enforcers, and we want to propose the obligation to share information about how the algorithms are set up. So the possibility to audit the algorithms will be there. So, but for the media, I cannot give you now the concrete answer whether we are going to cover that. But as a general principle, yes, the media should have as maximum as possible information.
Good. Well, thank you for indulging me on a question very close to my own heart. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about what you said about how lies travel so much faster than the truth, right? And how the platforms can do a better job of fact checking. You know, the argument the companies have made is that it's too fast. Like they have tens of thousands of people in their content moderation farms and they don't know how to move any faster. And so I'm curious how you think this is going to work in practice. Do you imagine that there's going to be tens of thousands more people, or there's going to be independent fact checkers that'll be paid? It just seems like a very difficult task to chase these lies.
Yeah. I'm just reading the book of Harari about Homo sapiens. He's describing that already 50,000 years ago, the Homo sapiens community was very agile in creating rumors, and so it's as old as the people are. Yeah. So I want to make clear that when we speak about disinformation and the need to act, we don't speak about just some rumors. We speak mainly about the product of coordinated action with the intention to do the harm, either to security, elections integrity, environment. You can imagine that we had to define it already, because otherwise we would raise the attention, the impression that we are just fighting against the normal kind of lying, if I can put it like that. But because disinformation, in fact, is not illegal. It's harmful. It can be very harmful and dangerous, and we see it now in COVID. But legally speaking, we cannot say that it is illegal. But what we see, it pays off to distribute lying and rumors and conspiracy theories. Yeah? People love it. And what we say is, it's not right that it is so advantageous economically. It should cost something. That's why we are proposing to demonetize. We are alerting the advertisers to think twice about where their brand will be placed. And we are proposing several other things, how to make it difficult and costly rather than easy and free of charge or advantages. Julia, can you imagine I forgot your question?
You answered it, so it's
not really. What was that? That was something I wanted to reply.
The question was about how many people you might need to chase after all these lies.
Yes, right? Yes. We need an army of people outside the platforms. Outside.
Yeah.
We need the people, just to make clear the model. We need the people inside the platforms to deal with the things which will be in the Digital Services Act. So to proactively detect illegal content and to act, because here we will require removal. I speak about terrorist content, child pornography, and hate speech. Yeah, to be concrete, and it will definitely require increase of capacities inside the platforms to do that in, I think, 21 official languages of the EU. Yeah? This is also the work with the languages. But for disinformation and fact-checking and labeling, we need the external people to do this, because we do not want the platforms themselves to be the arbiters of the truth, to be the fact checkers themselves, because we need some other capacities, and here we are pushing the platforms to create such a network of trustworthy fact checkers plus the media. The media sector is coming closer to this idea by also thinking about some self-regulatory increase of trustworthiness. We are not touching it as the Commission. I am just watching what's happening in the media sector, because they go this direction. Because independence of media must not be questioned here. Yeah, this must be stay independent. And that's the fact checking. And there was something about the fact checking. Yeah, let's continue. I will remember.
Okay. Let's bring in a question from the audience. So Apurva Aravan Kumar writes, hello, first and foremost, congratulations on the European Democracy Action Plan. Is there any part of the Digital Services Act which might address digital gender-based violence or abuse?
Yes, indeed. I don't know if it is explicit there, but of course, there is a very strong chapter, or it goes through the whole text that this has to cover violence online. But next year, I will propose the directive against violence against women. And there will be a very strong chapter about online violence. And I want this to be a Eurocrime, recognized as a Eurocrime with the necessary attention of the law enforcement. We simply have to do more against violence against women, not only in real life, but also in digital sphere. So these two things will be interconnected. Yeah.
And I think we have time for one more question. I wanted to ask you about the 2016 EU effort on combating hate speech, which actually has been somewhat successful. There's been yearly reports about how the companies have gotten better and faster at removing hate speech from their platforms. And I'm wondering if you guys are going to be building on that infrastructure as you put together more accountability measures for the platforms here.
Indeed, yeah, we will have it in the Digital Services Act, the rules which will reflect what we already have in the Code of Conduct Against Hate Speech. We have to realize one thing, that codes are self-regulatory decisions from the side of the platform. So we cannot, we of course we cooperate on that, but it is their activity. And we only have several platforms in hate speech, the Code of Conduct Against Hate Speech. They cover more than 90% of the market. Can you hear me? There was some vacuum cleaner heard.
I can hear you now, yes.
Yeah. And before we have the Digital Services Act coming into force, we will continue the Code of Conduct Against Hate Speech, and we will continue the Code of Practice Against Disinformation. We have to, because we have nothing else in our hands. Yeah. So we will continue. We will upgrade it. We will invite other platforms to come in. And for me, the Code of Conduct Against Hate Speech was, I'm glad you say it was a success story. First of all, it was quick. It had to be quick because we needed to react on the reality in 2016. If you remember the combination of migration wave and terrorist attacks, it created such an explosive cocktail that we needed to do something now, which is not the strength of the EU to do something now. And so we made that agreement very quickly. We are monitoring it. We have about 30 NGOs in the EU who are monitoring how the system works. At this moment, the platforms are removing around 70% of the notified hate speech within 48 hours. I never wanted them to remove everything, because not everything which is notified has the qualification of it might be hate speech prohibited by the law. Yeah? And so we will have to continue that.
Yeah, in fact, I mean, sometimes the hate speech platform is used to harass people, right? By sending in complaints, it's can be part of the harassment cycle.
I have a good method how to fight against hate speech. I canceled my Facebook account.
Yeah, well, me too, but unfortunately, not everybody did that. Okay, well, I think that we have to wrap since you have to go to some other event, I've been informed. So thank you so much. This was a delight, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the Digital Services Act when it comes out and all the legislation that you're promoting. And I do appreciate, on behalf of the media, thank you for working to include strengthening the media in these rules, because it is in the U.S., as you probably know, it's the media is really collapsing in a really terrible way here. So,
yeah. Yes, we will do our best. Thank you very much. Have a good day wherever you are. Bye.
Thank you.